I recently reviewed a beer called Brewmaster Dark, and as I said in that video, that's quickly become one of my kind of all-time favourite beers ever. It's just fantastic, and it's dirt cheap. And then, in the comments section of that video, someone came in and said that this, Krombacher Dark, was even better. And not much more expensive. Let me tell you, I ran to get it. Hello and welcome back to the channel, and yes, that's right, in my previous video where I reviewed a beer called Brewmaster Dark, a dark lager from the Czech legends that are Budvar, in the comment section, and the comment will be on the screen now, someone said, it's great, I love it too, but in effect, this Krombacher Dark is even better, and it's not a lot more expensive. I'll let you know in a minute exactly what I paid for it, but it was definitely in the kind of £2 to £3 region, and yeah, I just couldn't wait, basically. I'll be honest, given the choice between regular Budvar and Krombacher, I'd probably lean towards Budvar, so I'm a little bit skeptical, but allegedly this is literally leaps ahead of Brewmaster Dark, which, well, if so, causes me a problem, because I've already said in that video that kind of it's very difficult to choose anything else at that price point, really, because it's just so far ahead. This, yeah, if it's better, then it's going to be absolutely mind-blowing. What is it? Well, again, it is just a dark style lager. It's just effectively a lager with some dark malt in it. Generally makes a lager a little bit sweeter, more biscuity, a few chocolate notes here and there. But it can do some wild and wonderful things as well. I said in the Brewmaster Dark video that it almost has this kind of semi-savoury, salted, buttery quality to it, or at least it certainly does when it's on tap. Not so much in the bottle form, and that is kind of one of the problems I've found with dark lagers, is actually trying to pour them properly and get them to be as good as they can be in, from a bottle in a home environment is difficult. As a result, today I'm going to use exactly the same glass that I used for that Brewmaster Dark video, so that everything is as equal as it can be. But yes, this is from the German legends Krombacher. This is their Dark. It's just called Dark. And if we have a quick look on the back here, this is rocking in at 4.7%. I can't remember what the Brewmaster Dark was actually, but hold on, I have a bottle still. Brewmaster Dark is also 4.7%, so these two really are going toe to toe on this stuff. It's Germany versus the Czech Republic, and to be fair, what two greater brewing nations could you really want to pitch against each other, especially when it comes to the lager? Just before we break into this, and here is a quick look at the bottle. I mean, it's very... I think you'd almost look past it on a shelf, if I'm honest. It's not, it's certainly not as nice a label as the Budvar had, but that doesn't really matter. That is what it is, and let's just do this, because I am thrilled, to be honest, of the prospect of something that's just even as good, to have an alternative, an option, and if it really is better, then, well, we're in for a lovely day. I mean, it looks like a dark lager. It's a good start. I don't think this is as lively as the Budvar, although I've just messed that up. Get it down. Yeah, there you go. My own fault there. I got a little bit optimistic to the end because I thought it was looking a bit flat in the glass, but actually turns out maybe not. I will pour the rest of it in a second, but let's take a quick look. Ooh, now then. The Budvar was like a deep red when you held it up to the light, like deep ruby red. There is barely, I can't even tell if there is actually any light coming. Like, there's the tiniest bit of super dark brown right at the bottom of the glass, but otherwise it's actually a jet black beer, this one. It looks deeper, richer than the Budvar, which is, I suppose, a good start. Let's I always get optimistic. I pour it above the line like it's going to hold, head retention, it's going to be there, and then it looks at me like, you sure? I think I'm going to make a mess all over your bar top here, Tom. It has actually managed to behave itself a little bit. Let's get the last dregs. Very few last dregs in there. And now, so we can do it properly, I'm just going to let it settle down, I'm just going to wait for a minute, and then we're going to finally find out if the Krombacher Dark really is the better of the options. Okay, it's only about 30 seconds later, to be honest. It seems to have tidied itself up pretty quickly, and we just set the bottle to the side there, give it some space. As I said, visually, it's a lot darker. You know how I said, if you did watch that video, in fact, that Budvar Dark just kind of smells like Budvar? This just kind of smells like Krombacher. Interestingly, on both of them, like, there's not a massive difference to the aroma. At some point in the future, I will pitch them side by side against their regular counterparts to find out how true that really is. But as an initial impression, bready malt, mineral heavy water, just, you know, I mean, Krombacher, let's be honest, it's the cheaper end of German beer. It's still very much legit. It's just, I don't know, in the UK, it's definitely in cheaper supermarkets, lower price point than you know, your Pauliners, your Hackashaws, your, you know, the Oktoberfesty stuff. But this, oh, now the head properly slimmed off. The tiny roasty, smoky bit of malt coming through, but it's really subdued, really low down. Otherwise, it just smells like a good, decent quality German lager. That's not a bad or a good thing at this point. As I said, the Budvar was exactly the same. But now, let's let the taste do the talking. Is Krombacher Dark better than Budvar Dark? We're about to find out. Cheers. I'm going to need a second sip. Okay. I feel this is going to be a bit anticlimactic here. It's not a better beer, right? Straight up, I just don't think it is. It's got more faults, certainly this bottle has, compared to the bottles of Budvar Dark that I've had. It's, I want to say, just retaining too much of the original Krombacher. It doesn't feel distinctly different in a lot of ways. Yes, there is this sweetness, there is a roastier element to it, but overall it's dominated by the mineral water, the normal nice regular bready German malt, and let's be honest, the regular Krombacher is a little bit tinny. It's got that metallic edge. That's not an off flavour, especially in some German lagers, but it's not necessarily the one you want the most of, and Krombacher does tend just to have quite a lot of it, along with some others like Warsteiner, and some others do tend to lean that way. This is absolutely no different, and having just taken another taste of it, again, we might have been hasty. Now, I really don't think this is ever gonna just tickle me senseless in the same way that Budvar Dark does. I really enjoy that beer quite a lot. But this has started to develop a little bit, and on that last sip, there's almost kind of like a toasted bran element, you know, that kind of more super savoury grain profile. It's much more dark, kind of wholemealy, rich, beyond the regular kind of nice bready malt that's kind of, you know, it's savoury but a little bit sweet. This is, yeah, this is starting to really savour outwards, which, thinking about it, the Budvar Dark does as well, with that kind of salted, buttery quality. But this just kind of sits on its own. Again, in the Budvar Dark, it had this nice kind of... You know what? I'm going to stop talking about Budvar Dark, actually, because this is unfair. There's not one sat next to it to go side by side. That can be a future video, guaranteed. Might not be for a while, but guaranteed. And let's just focus on this. So, step it up, step it back. Top to bottom taste test on Krombacher Dark, first of all. So, initially, loads of carbonation, very light hop tickle on the front of the tongue, very mild indeed. You probably wouldn't even consider it if you were just drinking it normally. First third of the tongue, that's where you start to get that first hint that there is something more than just a standard lager. If this was a blind test, you'd be going, is it smoky? Is it roasty? Is it, there's something... It's not quite coffee, it's not quite licorice, it's not the really deep, dark bits of, I guess, normal dark beer, or certainly kind of stouts and porters in the UK at least. It's not as rich as that, but it's got this medium toast, let's say, level about it. It is toast, basically. It's just toast. Toast, that's the word that we need. And then going on from that, mid-phase, it drops out again a bit, actually. Not a lot there. You start to get some of those mineral aspects, the bits that you know from the original Krombacher and other similar German lagers. And then, as it gets to the back of the tongue, Carbonation picks up again, gets a bit spritzy, and it doesn't give you a lot until the aftertaste. And I'm going to tell you about that in a second, but I want to point out before I drink all of this, head's completely gone, and it's a very splashy beer. It's thin. Like, trying to get something back out of this isn't a nucleated glass. It's you know, there should be some bubbles left in there, and it's really, there you go, just about managed to do it. But as far as consistency goes, yeah, a little bit not great, if I'm honest. It's comparing. Look, I'm still doing it in my head, comparing it to the other one that I said I wasn't going to talk about. For the price, for what it is, it's still actually very good. In fact, it's fantastic. Like, I would absolutely recommend you buy a bottle of it, buy a pint of it if you're given the opportunity. You're not going to come away from this disappointed. And that aftertaste really is where everything springs into life. More roasty notes, a little bit of burnt toffee perhaps, another hint to those kind of traditional German hops, but again, used very lightly. And the finish on it is actually kind of very dry, quite dark, roasty, toasty. Well, it's that kind of all bran, whole grain thing I was talking about before. It keeps you coming back. You could drink quite a lot of it, I hasten to add. It is very nice, but I can't help it. In the back of my head, it's just constantly being compared, and it's not quite there for me. Maybe this is a bad bottle. Does anyone else know? In the comments below, please. Have you had this? Did you think it was superb compared to Budvar Dark, or just think it was superb in general? It's a very good dark lager. And in terms of a German dark lager, which obviously the other one isn't meant to be because it's not from Germany, or even called a German dark lager, but this may be a lot more truer to form. Truer to form. That's some terrible English. More true to form. And it is loads cheaper than most other dark lagers, if I'm honest. So on that front, I can't say too much about it. It's not wrong. There's nothing wrong with it. It's good. But I don't think, sat here right now, it's a replacement for the one that I said I wasn't going to talk about anymore. So yeah. And I did say I was going to let you know how much I paid for it. £2.24 a bottle from Beers of Europe. It's phenomenally cheap. Again, not as cheap as the other one that we're not meant to be talking about, but it's insanely cheap. Like, that's cheaper than actually I paid for a regular Krombacher at the supermarket the other day, or at least it would have been post if it wasn't on a multi-buy discount, if that makes sense. If you wanted to go into a supermarket in the UK right now, buy a regular bottle of Krombacher, you're looking at £2.50. So the fact that you can get this at £2.24, yeah, absolutely, because I would rather drink it than a regular. I will say that much for it. It's very nice. It's very nice. It's very nice. Look, the only way we're ever going to sort this out is by doing them side by side. That will be another video in the future, so subscribe so you can see that one if you're interested. And yes, I promise it will happen. But for now, I'm just going to leave it at that. It is a very good, cheap beer. It's an incredible cheap beer. And had I not done that video the other day and happened to fall across this, I would have said this was the best cheap beer in the UK right now, potentially. Although you actually have to buy it from an importer because it's not ready in the UK, so that might avoid that bit. But anyway, doesn't matter. It's fantastic, well worth the price. If you like lager, if you like dark beer, and in particular if you like dark lager, absolutely give it a go. But yeah, a winner is yet to be affirmatively decided, is all I can really say. And that's that. So as always, thank you very much for watching. If you enjoyed this video, please like it if you haven't already subscribed, if you would be so kind, and I will catch you next time. Cheers.